Be sure to show your support by liking the video, sharing your insights in the comments, and subscribing to keep up with our latest tales. At 62, I never envisioned being caught in a scenario like this. Life, it seemed, was meant to follow a certain script by this point. The sun rises, casting a golden hue over my garden, where each moment is a delicate dance of nurturing life. As the day unfolds, I lose myself in the pages of a book, the silence around me thick with unspoken thoughts. When night falls, I sit beside my husband, Mark, our hearts entwined as we delve into the tapestry of our shared past, each memory a thread woven with both joy and longing. Yet, on a fateful evening, a clandestine exchange unraveled the fabric of my understanding, plunging me into a sea of uncertainty. The story began at a lavish corporate gala, an event orchestrated by Mark's company, where the air was thick with anticipation and unspoken tension. For more than 30 years, he poured his heart and soul into his work, climbing the ladder with relentless commitment. His boss, Richard Caldwell, exuded a subtle yet commanding presence, a figure I had only brushed shoulders with in the realm of courteous exchanges at past gatherings. In his mid-60s, he stood tall and distinguished, exuding a quiet confidence that felt almost palpable, as if it were woven into the very fabric of his being. The gala unfolded within the opulent confines of a prestigious hotel in downtown Chicago, where the grand chandeliers illuminated the scene, casting a captivating glow over the impeccably dressed guests, each one a part of the unfolding story. The air crackled with energy, voices rising and falling like a tide, glasses chiming together in a symphony of anticipation, while the sultry notes of a live jazz band wove through the atmosphere, hinting at secrets yet to be unveiled. Though I harbored a deep reluctance towards these gatherings, finding solace in the familiar embrace of home, Mark's insistence weighed heavily on me. With a sense of resignation, I donned a simple navy blue dress and acquiesced to his request, stepping into the unknown alongside him. At first glance, everything appeared to be perfectly ordinary. As Mark engaged in intense discussions with his colleagues, I found myself drawn into conversations with the other spouses, each moment thick with unspoken tension. Everything changed the moment Richard stepped into my world. "Evelyn, may I have a moment?" he asked, his deep voice cutting through the chaos of the room. I paused, uncertainty gripping me. A moment? What could Mark's boss possibly desire from me? Yet, I managed a polite smile and a nod, trailing behind him as he guided me down a shadowy side corridor, far from the vibrant chaos of the main ballroom. The air hung heavy with silence, the distant echoes of the gala slipping away into the shadows behind us. He guided me into a quiet lounge, where the soft glow of dim lighting painted gentle hues on the walls. The fire crackled in the hearth, casting warm flickers against the polished wood. There was an undeniable weight in the air, the kind that comes when words left unspoken press against the silence. My heart raced as I settled into the chair opposite him. "I hope I'm not interrupting anything crucial," he said, his smile tinged with a hint of anxiety. "Not at all," I replied, though an insatiable curiosity churned within me, refusing to be ignored. "What's on your mind?" He sighed, rubbing his hands together, as if grappling with the weight of his thoughts. Finally, he broke the silence. "It's about Mark." Instantly, I straightened in my chair, a knot forming in my stomach. "Is something wrong?" He paused, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. "Not exactly, but there's something I believe you need to hear." The gravity of his words hung in the air, a palpable tension before he even spoke. His expression held a weight that sent a shiver down my spine, a silent fervor that quickened my heartbeat. "Evelyn," he continued, his voice a blend of tenderness and resolve, "I've known Mark for a long time. I've witnessed him rise through the ranks, fiercely backing his colleagues while nurturing his family with unwavering dedication. Amidst the chaos, a realization has dawned upon me." I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment settle in my chest. What could it possibly be? He fixed his gaze on me, his expression unreadable yet heavy with meaning. A strange unease prickled at the edges of my thoughts, a silent message lingering between us. He doesn't appreciate you the way he should. The words struck me like a thunderclap, reverberating through my very core. My breath hitched, and a surge of protectiveness surged within me. I don't understand, I faltered, confusion swirling around me. Mark is a good husband. He's always been. Richard nodded, a flicker of uncertainty crossing his face. I know he is. But tell me, Evelyn, when was the last moment he genuinely recognized your essence? Not just as his wife, but as the remarkable woman you are. I felt a surge of emotions. My lips parted in an attempt to speak, yet silence enveloped me, leaving me breathless. He pressed on, his voice now a whisper, laden with unspoken weight. I've noticed the way your eyes linger on him, even when he's oblivious to your gaze. I've seen you linger in the shadows at these gatherings, as he immerses himself in his tasks. You pour your heart out, yet does he ever reciprocate? Tightness gripped my throat. I yearned to argue, to assert that he was mistaken, but a profound uncertainty stirred within me. I don't mean to overstep, Richard said, his voice laced with an undercurrent of tension as he leaned back slightly. But sometimes an outsider sees what those inside cannot. I took a deep breath, my thoughts swirling in a tempest. Richard's gaze pierced through me, and he responded with a subtle, understanding smile. Evelyn, you deserve to be recognized. His words echoed within me, stirring something I hadn't dared acknowledge before, an unspoken longing to be understood. For the first time in ages, uncertainty gripped my heart, leaving me adrift in a sea of conflicting emotions. I remained motionless, caught in a moment of sheer tension. Richard's words reverberated in my thoughts, awakening a turmoil I was unprepared to face. You deserve to be seen. Had I truly been invisible all this time? I longed to dismiss his words as just an observation, a misguided attempt at kindness. Yet, deep within, a part of me recognized the unsettling truth in his statement. Mark was a good man, a diligent provider. He had always been steadfast, dependable. Yet in those hushed moments, the ones that held significance, when had he last truly seen me? When had he last acknowledged the subtle ways I endeavored to keep our life vibrant and rich? The way I meticulously folded his shirts just as he preferred. The way I filled our home with his cherished belongings. The way I stood unwaveringly by his side through every career triumph, only to now sit back in silence. I cleared my throat, forcing down the tightness that had taken residence there. Richard, he raised a hand, halting my words. I don't wish to unsettle you, Evelyn. Yet, I found myself unable to remain silent. I exhaled slowly, the weight of the moment heavy in the air. Your honesty is something I truly value. I finally spoke, my voice barely above a whisper. Mark and I have shared decades together. Marriage transcends mere visibility. It delves deeper into the essence of connection. It's a matter of unwavering dedication, a foundation of certainty. Richard nodded, a knowing look in his eyes. I understand, and I respect that. He leaned forward slightly, his gaze piercing through the air. But have you ever dared to confront what you truly desire? The question hung heavily in the silence that enveloped us. What I desired. For years, I had poured my energy into understanding Mark's needs, fulfilling the demands of our marriage, and meeting the expectations placed upon me. Yet, I had never taken a moment to reflect on my own true desires. I released a soft, anxious chuckle. Richard, this is certainly an unexpected discussion for a corporate gala. That brought a smile to his face. I suppose it is. Yet, an undeniable urge compelled me to voice it. A heavy silence enveloped us, punctuated solely by the gentle crackling of the fireplace. He let out a heavy sigh, rising to his feet. I should let you get back, he said, the weight of the moment hanging in the air. I stood as well, my hands trembling slightly as I smoothed down my dress, the tension palpable between us. Yes, Mark will undoubtedly question my whereabouts. Richard nodded, yet his expression held an enigmatic quality. Evelyn made me vow one thing, and I could feel the weight of it hanging in the air. I tilted my head, curiosity piqued. What was that? Don't brush off my words. Ponder them deeply. My heart raced as I hesitated, then finally nodded, each movement heavy with unspoken tension. All right, I managed to say. He offered a faint smile, a flicker of reassurance, before stepping aside and gesturing toward the door, the air thick with anticipation. As I stepped away, the weight of our conversation clung to me, a quiet echo in the depths of my thoughts. The gala buzzed with life when I returned, and there was Mark, precisely where I had left him, engrossed in a discussion with his colleagues. At first, he was oblivious to my presence. I lingered in the shadows, observing him intently. His expressions were vivid, and his hands danced through the air as he engaged in conversation. It was a side of him I had always cherished, his fervor, his ambition. Yet Richard's words echoed in my mind. Had Mark ever regarded me with that same intensity? When he finally turned his gaze in my direction, a fleeting nod was all he offered before he returned to his discussion. Profound change stirred within me. Richard had sown a seed, and despite my efforts to dismiss it, I felt its roots taking hold. The journey home unfolded in silence, heavy with unspoken thoughts. Mark sat beside me, his hands tightly clutching the wheel, his eyes locked onto the shadowy road stretching before us. The city lights flickered by in a dizzying rush, yet my thoughts were trapped in a different realm. Richard's words reverberated in my mind, his voice haunting me in a way that refused to fade away. You deserve to be acknowledged. I caught a fleeting glimpse of Mark. He appeared weary, a subtle line of tension etched between his brows. Decades of marriage had made every detail of him familiar. The lines of his face, the crinkle of his eyes when he laughed, the quiet way he processed his thoughts. Yet, somewhere along the way, the invisible thread between us had grown taut and fragile. He cleared his throat, shattering the stillness that hung between us. Did you have a good time tonight? The question pierced through the air, unexpected and heavy. It was a familiar refrain, one he uttered after every event, every gathering, every dinner party, as if bound by some unseen duty rather than true interest. I found myself pausing, the weight of my response hanging in the balance. It was intriguing. He nodded, lost in thought. Good, and just like that, the conversation came to an abrupt halt. I turned my gaze back toward the window, watching the city fade into the distance as we ventured into the stillness of the suburbs. Upon our arrival, Mark fell into his familiar routine. Jacket off, keys placed on the counter, and then he vanished into his office for one final glance at his emails. I lingered in the kitchen, my eyes fixed on the vacant spot he had just occupied, a heavy silence enveloping the air. My feelings towards him were complex. Anger was not the right word. Mark had always been unwavering, consumed by his work, and steadfast in his habits. He had provided me with a life filled with comfort and safety. Yet, Richard's words had stirred something deep within me, a force I could no longer suppress. As I made my way to the bedroom, I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror. At 62, my once vibrant auburn hair now bore streaks of silver, each strand a testament to the passage of time. Faint lines etched across my face whispered stories of the years I had endured. Yet, my eyes remained unchanged. Within them, I discovered a feeling I had long overlooked, a profound sense of loneliness. I had always believed this was merely a facet of growing older. This subtle retreat into the shadows, this slow descent into monotony. But now, for the first time, a question stirred within me. Was it truly so? The following morning, as Mark departed for work, he pressed a kiss to my cheek and murmured, "I'll be home late." A significant client meeting loomed ahead. I nodded, a faint smile gracing my lips. Everything was set. Be safe. And then he vanished. I lingered in the doorway, the weight of the moment pressing down on me, before finally retreating into the shadows of the room. Typically, my days were consumed by errands, housework, or tending to the garden. Yet today, an unsettling restlessness gripped me. Before I could second-guess myself, I picked up my phone and dialed a number I never imagined I would. Richard answered on the second ring. "Evelyn?" His voice held a subtle hint of surprise. I inhaled deeply, tension coiling within me. Do you have time for a cup of coffee? A moment hung in the air, thick with anticipation. And then, almost a whisper, he replied, of course. An hour later, I was seated across from him at a secluded cafe by the lake, the world around us fading into the background. The rich aroma of roasted coffee beans and warm pastries enveloped the space, while outside, the autumn leaves swirled in a mesmerizing dance. Richard's gaze met mine, filled with an unspoken intrigue. Uncertainty hung in the air as I waited, my heart racing with anticipation. I stirred my coffee, the cream swirling into the depths of the dark liquid, mirroring the turmoil within me. The thought of calling danced on the edge of my mind, but doubt held me back. He nodded, anticipation hanging in the air. I took a deep breath, my thoughts swirling around the weight of your words. His expression was a mask, concealing everything beneath. I paused, heart racing, before finally locking eyes with him. You were right. Something flickered in his eyes, an elusive spark that left me unsettled. Evelyn, I'm not saying I regret my life, I interjected softly, my heart racing. Mark and I have forged something resilient, something undeniably genuine. But somewhere along the way, I think I lost the ability to desire something for myself. Richard leaned in closer, and in that moment, I felt a lump rise in my throat. Now uncertainty loomed. A heavy silence enveloped us, pierced only by the faint murmur of voices in the background. At last, Richard broke the stillness, his voice barely above a whisper. I only wish for your happiness. I gazed at him, truly gazed at him. Here was a man with no obligation to intrude upon my life, no justification for his words, save for the fact that he had glimpsed something within me that I had yet to recognize. In that moment, clarity struck me like a bolt of lightning. I found myself frozen, gazing at Richard from across the intimate cafe table, my fingers gripping the warm ceramic of my coffee cup as if it were my only anchor. All I wanted was for him to find happiness. His words lingered in the atmosphere, weighty yet tender, reminiscent of a truth I had evaded for far too long. For years, I convinced myself that contentment sufficed, that security, stability, and loyalty formed the foundation of a fulfilling life. And indeed they did. Yet Richard had revealed a hidden part of me, a void I hadn't realized existed, a longing to truly feel. I inhaled deeply, the heaviness of my reflections bearing down on me. Richard, I find myself lost in this turmoil. His gaze turned gentle. You need not take any action, Evelyn. Just reflect on what truly brings you joy. When was the last moment you dedicated solely to yourself? I began to speak but hesitated. When was that last time? I had devoted years to ensuring Mark felt supported, that his career, his aspirations, his entire world stayed whole. I had meticulously crafted a life steeped in order and routine. Yet, a haunting question lingered. What about me? As I took a sip of my coffee, the rich, bitter warmth enveloped me, offering a fleeting sense of grounding. Who am I beyond the confines of my marriage? I found myself taken aback by my own admission. Richard offered a subtle, knowing smile. Perhaps it was indeed time to uncover the truth. I released a shaky, anxious laugh. That feels utterly daunting. Perhaps, but also thrilling, wouldn't you agree? I remained silent. I couldn't find the words, because deep down I understood he was right. We lingered in silence, the weight of unspoken words hanging in the air. Outside, life continued its relentless march, cars gliding by, laughter echoing, and the wind whispering through the golden autumn leaves, each sound a reminder of the vibrant world beyond our stillness. Life rushed forward, relentless and unyielding. Yet, in this moment, perhaps it was time to stop and truly see. I finally placed my cup down, locking eyes with him, the air thick with unspoken words. I stand on the precipice of uncertainty, Richard. Yet, a flicker of determination ignites within me. I must embrace life once more. A smile danced at the edge of his lips, hinting at the possibility of hope. That was all I needed you to understand. That night when Mark returned home, I was already there, poised at the kitchen table, waiting. He hardly glanced my way as he placed his briefcase down and loosened his tie. "Long day," he muttered, his voice heavy with fatigue. "I'm exhausted." I watched him in silence. This man with whom I had woven a life. This man I had cherished for decades. And yet, as he navigated the familiar rooms of the house, an invisible barrier loomed between us, a widening gulf I had failed to recognize over the years. I inhaled deeply, summoning my courage. "Mark, can we talk?" He hesitated, his gaze finally meeting mine. "About what?" I swallowed hard. "About us?" His brows knitted together in confusion. "What about us?" I paused, the weight of my thoughts pressing down on me, before finally releasing the words that had been churning within me since last night. "I feel invisible, Mark." He blinked, confusion flickering in his eyes. "What?" "I feel like I've spent years being the wife who supports you, tirelessly keeping everything in our life steady, ensuring that the world around us remains unshaken. And I do love you. Yet, somewhere along this journey, I faded into the shadows." His frown deepened, revealing his surprise. "Evelyn, where is this coming from?" I shook my head, feeling the weight of unspoken truths. "It's been there, lurking in the shadows for a long time. I just never found the courage to voice it." He sank into the chair opposite me, his hand dragging across his face in a gesture of deep contemplation. "I had no idea you harbored such feelings." My gaze bore into him, searching for the truth hidden beneath his facade. "Did you ever wonder?" He was silent, and in that moment, a painful truth dawned on me. Mark wasn't a bad husband. He never intended to be unkind or indifferent. He had, like I did, fallen into the belief that marriage was synonymous with routine, that the solace of familiarity would suffice. We had drifted apart, no longer feeling the need to reach out as we once did. Yet, deep down, we knew that this wasn't truly living. It certainly wasn't love. "Not anymore. What are you saying?" he finally asked, his voice laced with uncertainty. I take a deep breath, the weight of the moment pressing down on me. "I must reclaim my life." His expression shifted, a hint of fear creeping in. "Are you betraying me?" I paused, uncertainty gripping me, then finally denied it with a shake of my head. "Mark, the uncertainty of the future weighs heavily on my heart. I can no longer bear this burden of appearance. If we are to salvage our marriage, a transformation is imperative." He gazed at me, the silence stretching between us like a taut string. In that moment, after what felt like an eternity, I caught a glimpse of something stirring within his eyes. Understanding. Perhaps there was a glimmer of hope to mend what was broken. Perhaps there wasn't. Yet, for the first time in years, I felt an undeniable urge to uncover the truth.